Hey guys, Crewcaster here. Let's talk about everything that's happened this week for PSO2 NGS. There wasn't a ton that was added to the game, but what did was pretty huge. So we got a new collab, we got a new treasure scratch that we'll talk about, but we also got an amazing quest, at least for hardcore players, the Sign of the Planetbreaker. So this is a new high difficulty quest, and within is a Dark Falz level enemy, Starless Dark Falz Solus. This thing is definitely no joke. When SEGA says high difficulty quest this time, they actually mean it, unlike with Geometric Labyrinth before, they called that super challenging, or with whatever they said for Purple Battle Diaz. This has a ton of varying attacks, multiple phases, and even mechanics mixed within. You'll definitely need to, as they say, tune up all your gear and keep trying until you defeat it. To enter this quest, you need to go to Central Rotem with a portal located down here, right above Rotem Alnoth. And then for this, you need a 3750 battle power to be able to even enter the said quest. This, I think, you need to even go beyond that because he is really a sponge. He just has a ton of HP, so you really need to make up for it with potency as much as you can. The Lucille Exploration gives a lot of LC capsules and that Octo Armor, even the Verschmells, so that'll help out a lot if you grab those for upgrading. It does have a public queue system, so you can't just go with randoms in this quest of up to 4 people, but from my experience, it doesn't bode well because you really need a good combination of classes to have a easier time or a better time in this quest, and one person can really screw it up for you because they're just not doing enough damage, or they're just dying way too much, going past that death limit where it just kicks you out of the quest. This is much the same as that Dark Falz Interception R.2 that we got a while back with the Caveris region, I believe, where you can find it in the quest counter trigger quests. But yeah, for this, it had a death limit of 5 for your entire party. So if you guys collectively died 5 times, it would boot you out and you have to restart all over again. This also had a time limit, I think it was 20 minutes, but for Dark Falz Solus, you only have 15 minutes to complete, and he is much harder. So before you enter this quest, if you actually want to beat this, I think you need to do a few things first. Based off of other people's runs and my own, I think you need a potency of around 130 to 140% at a bare minimum to show on your character sheet. I have 144.6% in melee right now with a Justitian weapon. The Justitians are actually pretty good against this guy because he is light weak, but you could also use Astrians, the Verschmel series, Lucille Exploration, or Tassa if you have one of those. There's also some other good choices, just as long as it kind of focuses on doing damage against a boss. For classes, you can play anything that you want, as long as you're good with the said class, but I would highly recommend a Ranger or a Tector within your party, because they give you those DPS buffs, which help out a lot during that 15-minute fight. For subclasses, though, it's kind of like all over the place, depending on how often you think you're going to get hit or how much damage you're going to take, because I've seen some people go the tanky route with, Waker or Hunter, to just give them that extra little buffer, but I would definitely recommend doing some DPS ones instead if you're confident in your skill. Slayer if you're not using the Verschmells because of the crit rate on that, or just go Bouncer because the part damage is available to you almost instantly because you're breaking parts all of the time in this quest. And for the last thing, I think you really need a pre-made party because it's not elitism or anything like that, but this quest just requires a way higher standard than what we've seen within NGS that I think some people just aren't going to meet if you do the public matchmaking, because I've seen some people with just not even full augment slots, like they have just empty slots within some of their pieces. They don't have the plus 70 weapons, and that just isn't going to cut it with this quest. As we go along, we'll see, that higher standard, at least, hopefully, or we'll just have like better gear. Eventually that'll be easy to obtain, and we'll have more levels to be able to complete it down the line with public matchmaking. But for now, you really need that, or from what I've seen, it does scale to the amount of people within the quest. So if you want to try to solo it, you can. I've seen some people be able to complete it, but you really need to have, probably higher than this, like 150 some percent or something like that. And the class really does matter. You can duo it. I've seen that. I haven't seen like a trio, but you could probably do that too. That's all the things that I think you should do. If you guys want any like videos in the future about like detailing more about this quest, like a guide of, the attacks and everything, or if you want to see, a gearing thing to try to meet up to the standards, then just let me know. But for the rewards in this quest, there's not actually too much, unfortunately. There's the first clear rewards with the vital gauges, Ina and Manon. You can see me wearing the Ina one right now. But yeah, it's a consumable that you get. The Manon one right here that you just use. It auto locks, which is interesting. But yeah, this is what it kind of shows. It just changes the vital gauge. And if you want to change it once you consume that item, you just go to your personal menu and go to vital gauge design. You can change it within here. Besides the first clear rewards, for everything else, it can drop to saw weapons, but I think it's just as low as a drop chance as everything else that can drop this series. Maybe it's a little bit higher, but I haven't seen any myself. It can drop Neos Astrian weapons and Ajax armor pretty consistently with fixes on them, so if you really want those, you can. I've just been selling those Ajax armors for some money. Unfortunately for the Astrians, you can't sell them directly, but if you really don't want them, like for the fix enhancing or anything like that, then you can exchange them for Aegis Integra to convert into augments that can sell. Then there's Gold Prim Sword 2s and Gold Prim Armor 2s, and then for some reason Epidus Armors and Sexual and Relic series, which, just garbage at this point, pretty much. They're worth nothing. But then for guaranteed, there's these augments here. You get one of each of these, one of each stat for, which that's whatever. But you do get a Starl Soul every time, so I guess that's kind of nice, at least for now, to make the Gladius Soul. And then there's some camos that have a rare chance of dropping the Tasa Almaty, so based off the Tasa weapons, and then Neos Astrian Almaty color variant. Honestly, in my opinion, these rewards are absolutely terrible. It doesn't match the difficulty that it takes to beat this quest. You have the time limit, you have the death limit, and then just the difficulty of the boss itself with all of its attacks. That just doesn't make any sense when you compare it to other things in the game. You have Lesteel Exploration, which just came out, which is way easier, in my opinion, and it gives you LC augments, which are best in slot or near best in slot. And then it also gives you growth mint for weapons and armor, which the armor is best in slot for right now. And the weapons are pretty dang good. While this doesn't really give you anything to match. Like there's the Dasa series, but that also just has a low drop chance, just like everything else that, is current with the game. It gives you outdated things like Epidus, Ajax, I think is pretty much outdated at this point. Like, it's still, good, but, there's better options out there. And then, Neos Astrian is okay, but we've had that for a while with, other quests anyways. Why doesn't this give something that's, actually worth my time, like a good augment, for instance? Why doesn't it just give the straight Gladius Soul, or, some High Domina, something like that? Maybe not everything, but just something to make up for how much I need to be able to beat this thing. I know down the line when, we get better things, this will just be like everything else in the game will become dead content and just be super easy and, not really getting much out of it besides, maybe the cosmetic drops because cosmetics, last forever. That's the end game. The only thing for this that, is going to keep up is the weekly task, which gives you 20 SG for completing this. But that just seems very low as well because 20 star gems doesn't even give you enough to do a scratch on an SG scratch. You're not even getting a single cosmetic out of this, per week. When we look in here, an SG scratch is 50 star gems. You're getting not even half of a cosmetic with this. It just baffles me. It's just unfortunate to see because I think this quest is the best that NGS has gotten so far. Let's move on to the rest of the update. We have a new collab with Uncle from Another World. So that's an anime that's been around for a minute. And with the AC Scratch ticket, you can get outfits with the different characters. The Uncle, Elf, Mabel, and also some of their weapon camos and other collab items, including SEGA hardware. I believe the Uncle from the anime is a diehard fan of SEGA, so that's why they kind of included it in there. Maybe that's why they did the collab entirely. But looking at the Scratch ticket, it's actually filled with new things. There isn't any, extra NGS stuff in here that's already been in the game. It's actually fully new stuff, which we haven't seen with the collab yet. With this, you have all of the different SEGA systems as build parts, even the cartridges for those systems from long ago. The Uncle from Another World, build parts for posters and rugs, backdrops, stamps, SEGA accessories where you can have the whole console on your head, I guess. Other different accessories for the characters. The weapon camos, which I think are really nice, even if they weren't collab items. I got the magical swords and then Uncle's swords. They are definitely worth pretty penny. If you're trying to buy with Masetta, same with the hairs. Those are always high value with hairs. Even the Uncle's hair is decently high for a male hair. Portable holograms, motions, and emotes, which are also pretty good, and people want them. The outfits, strangely enough, are the ones that are not valued very highly. I think it's just because they're very plain. There isn't like much to them. So like when we take a look at this, so like 500,000, which is the bare minimum for a featured item. And like the rest of these are even lower than that. Same just goes for the elf costume and Uncle's uniform as well. So it seems like the outfits aren't really wanted too much, but everything else is. For the scratch count bonuses, there isn't too much. There's the stickers from the different SEGA consoles, Mega CD, Sega Saturn. There's also a mastery for S augment if you want that. But for other things within this collab, there is a login bonus that you can do, where just by logging in, you get these different build parts and stamps between these two dates. There's also a boost to this tailored for new players, where you get some yellow triggers with some new daily tasks, and they can use those yellow triggers into the Battle Dia Yellow, Aleo, and Retem versions, where you can get 100% more XP than usual, and the enemy's HP is reduced by 50%, so it's easier to clear. And then for one last thing with the collab, they did a video on the official Phantasy Star channel, where Uncle from Another World plays NGS, and it's, I believe, the actual Japanese voice actor for the Uncle as well as the elf that kind of just goes along through the game, kind of showing it off. So you can watch that if you want to. It's like a 12-minute video. But for the next thing, there's a treasure scratch that got added to the game, which is actually quite interesting. This is available until September 5th. You get these treasure scratch tickets from doing urgent quests, just any of them, and you get 2 guaranteed per run. And then you can also do some daily tasks to get some per day. But in the scratch, there is very good items and also a lot of trash. So for the good items, personal shop use 3 days. That's very reminiscent of classic PSO2, where free-to-play players can finally get some personal shop use for the player market. But look at the drop chance, 0.04%. That is the lowest out of anything in here. So good luck on trying to get some out of this. But there's also Augment Item Protection and Color Change Pass, Salon Pass, Boosters, Photon Chunk 2s, Gigas Mass Day, Half an Alley, like that's big ticket items. There's also some Mastery 4 and Trippables, like the Stat Trippables, so that's really good. But then for the trash, we got all these class cubes, low success rate things, the old gold prims, NEX cubes, Stat 4s, the common triggers, all of these minerals. Like imagine getting a monetite for one of your scratch tickets, just one monetite. Like that just feels really bad. And just like all these other things which are really common within the game are essentially useless. Regardless of all the trash though, this is still a great idea because they still give you these tickets commonly enough to where you can eventually get some of the better items. Even the better items have better chances than this trash down below. Like the Mastery 4 and these Trippables have the 2% chance, and the Giga Smash and Half an Alley have a 1% chance, so it isn't too bad. There's also scratch count bonus items where you can get some pretty nice stuff. You get Genesis points, Star Gems, these weapon camos like Pristine Force, build parts, and just more along a giant track. And eventually you can get some select tickets to be able to select exactly what you want within. So if you want the Half an Ally to choose, or the Gigas Mass Day, or you really want that personal shop use, you can just choose it. Another thing in here is a SG Legacy Coordination Badge pose. So you can actually choose a SG scratch count bonus for a pose that you may have missed from before. Also a great thing tied to this is a urgent quest schedule between Wednesday to Monday. No Tuesday, but that's mainly maintenance anyways. So you can know exactly when an urgent quest is going to occur, and they might even have extra in between because that's how it usually happens. Yeah, the B's are marked by concerts and urgent quests, and then the A's are just urgent quests appearing. Also for this, you can run the urgent quests twice instead of once when they are available, so you got more runs, and also can do them faster because of an HP reduction. So it's just overall better when doing the urgent quests. Also for this, I noticed that only certain get the guaranteed 2, Darkfall's Interception, Battle of Halfya Lake, Remnants of Ambition, and all of the different mining rigs. Everything else, like I'm guessing the ones in Stia, and some of the other ones in Retem and Kavaris, just aren't going to give you the 2 and only give you 1 guaranteed instead. So keep that in mind. The last thing this week, there is a keyword from David, arcs_OG-san_rescue. So if you type that in, you get a Soaring Blades camo. I believe it's the Grand Cross NT. Yeah, this one right here. And you also get some star gems. For next week, there is no scheduled maintenance because there isn't too much happening. There's just a couple of scratches, so I probably won't do a whole video on that later. So just for next week, there'll be an AC support item select. So re-releasing the Exdi augments, so it'll become cheaper if you want to grab any of those in the player market or want to scratch for them yourself. And then there is a Rewind Collection August 23 happening, where just going to be a whole bunch of different outfits from last year during August. That's everything that I have for you guys today. I think that NGS is finally getting somewhere with its content, and it seems like we actually have a current end game right now with the Seal Exploration and the Sign of the Planetbreaker, but of course, there's room for improvements. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.